Hi, hello. Welcome to my review of this new Happy Madison Productions movie. You are so not invited to my bar mitzvah. Yeah, this is a new Netflix coming of age movie which I should really not be that interested in. But this is a Happy Madison Productions movie, and for the people who don't know, it's the production company of Adam Sandler, and basically everything that this company does and that Adam Sandler is starring in is in some way interesting to me because, to be honest, he can easily carry a movie for me. If a movie is really boring, he can still make it very charming. Movies like, for example, Sandy Wexler or The Week Off, both of these movies were Happy Madison Productions. They were so dull and so boring for the most part. But I still was in some way interested in what the movie would do, simply because Adam Sandler is in it and he's very charming. And I have to say, he's in this movie also very charming and has a lot of good moments. But this movie is not about him, it's about his daughter actually, Sunny Sandler, playing a Jewish girl called Stacy. She is having her bar mitzvah soon, and so this is a very big thing for her. She wants this to be absolutely perfect, but at the same time she has also a lot of interest in a boy, and her best friend also has a lot of interest in that boy, and so there's a lot of conflict, and basically we have a coming of age movie about boys, about love, about betrayal, about all of these things, which is it's basically the plot of a coming of age movie. First of all, what I want to say that I just genuinely think is interesting, not just about this movie but about what's to come, is the fact that I'm getting older. Not very old, but I'm not a kid anymore. And so it's really interesting actually to see what coming of age movies in the future will be. I never really thought about this, but obviously the kids who grew up in my generation have a different childhood than the kids who grew up 10 years earlier or the kids that grew up 10 years later. And so this is a perfect example of a completely different generation, it feels like. I feel old watching this movie because I myself don't really understand the stuff that is happening in this movie anymore because it's just a different generation already. I mean, even though I know what TikTok is, I still don't do it and I don't like it. But seeing a coming of age movie where this is just like so normal and nothing new at all, and where it's about children who are growing up with internet, it's pretty interesting to see. And so I'm very excited about what coming of age movies are coming out in 10 years because it's going to be completely different because everyone has a completely different experience. And so that's one thing that isn't really like saying a lot about the film itself or the quality of the film, but it's just like something I wanted to mention because it's a very interesting progression. So nevertheless, how is the movie actually? I have to say this movie is very inconsistent. Like, the most consistent thing in this movie is Adam Sandler. Which is kind of sad to say, I have to say, because this movie seems to be a very personal story. Personal in some way, definitely, because it's about a child who has to deal with a lot of things that a lot of people can relate to, but also it's in a way, it seems personal because literally Adam Sandler's whole family seems to be in this movie, acting in some way. At least the main family, Adam Sandler and his two daughters, are in the main family. And if I saw it right, Adam Sandler's wife plays the wife of the other family in this movie, which is so weird. Like it makes me think why they didn't just play the whole family, but it doesn't really matter. What I want to say is that it is kind of sad to see that this movie is so inconsistent. Even though it's a kind of personal story. A few things that I have to say that instantly were noticeable to me that I just really didn't enjoy. First of all, the editing. I just fucking hated the way this movie is in general. At least in the first half, it feels like. Later in the movie, I got more and more used to how this movie flows and how this movie acts in general. Starting this movie out, it was really annoying. It felt so chaotic, but not in a good way or in a way that seems planned. There's some random slow-mo shots that just don't fit at all. Everything feels so random and so unplanned. And the music, oh my god, the fucking music in this film is really not good. At least in the first half again. It feels like the best thing about the music in this film is the soundtrack that doesn't consist of original songs, but it's actually songs that are already released before this movie. Olivia Rodrigo and Dua Lipa are mentioned a lot in this film because the main character is a big fan of these two, and I cannot blame her, but the way the music is used in this film is just really awful. The movie starts off with the most cliched and most stereotype coming of age beginning soundtrack that you can think of. It's so awful and it annoyed me instantly. It felt so uncreative and boring. Later on in the movie, they actually use a lot more songs again that are already released, and they use a lot of them, and I don't really have a problem with this because, to be honest, if you can collect a soundtrack of different types of songs that are really fitting to the movie and that help progress the movie in some way, then I really don't have a problem with it. I instantly have to think about Booksmart, for example. If you have a Lizzo song and a Death Grip song in the same soundtrack, you have to be doing this with a lot of intent and thought behind it. And in this movie, it's more like just the music that these characters would listen to. Again, Olivia Rodrigo and Dua Lipa. But even then, I have to say that if you don't use it well, it just gets kind of annoying. It really reminded me of this meme that I saw where it's making fun of movies or TV shows where a scene happens and then we hear a song behind the scene that fits so accurately and so perfectly accurate to what is happening in this moment that it's just kind of comical.
I'm sorry. I'm breaking up with you.
We've known each other 5.5 weeks, but we've reached our peak. Now I'm going back to Essex and you're going back to Devon.
And there was one scene in this movie where one friend betrayed the other friend. And of course, what song did we get? Olivia Rodrigo, Traitor. It was so obvious and so just annoying to me. Also, it's there's a lot of cringy dialogue that really reminded me of some shit like Tall Girl or Kissing Booth. But I do have to say that it doesn't nearly get as annoying as these movies. It's actually not too distracting, especially after some time. You really get used to the way these people talk, and so it's not as annoying anymore. But I do have to say that the humor in this movie rarely works. The only time I really laughed about something was when Adam Sandler tells a joke, because he's just like way too good at it and way too charming, and I just enjoy him a lot in basically any movie. Other than that, nothing really landed. There are also a lot of characters that are not important to the plot at all, or just very minimally. They are basically just side characters that are used for gags, but they are getting so much attention and it's so annoying, and I'm very distracted sometimes when they are at a big party and we get, for some reason, a lot of attention on this DJ that comes to every single bar mitzvah that is being celebrated, and for some reason he just reoccurs so many times and I don't know why. He's such an unfunny and boring character. Or in general, there are a lot of scenes where we should be following our main character Stacy a lot more, but we get a lot of more attention on the parents, for example, which I don't think is a bad thing, because Adam Sandler is again charming, but I just, especially in the beginning, really felt disconnected from anything that was happening with our main characters, because we had just so many other people to concentrate on too. But I do have to say one thing, and that is that I, for some reason, despite all of these things that consistently annoyed me, like in every single scene there was at least something that I didn't like, that I thought was annoying, that I thought was distracting in some way. Despite all that, I still ended up being invested in the story much more than I expected. It was especially, I realized that somewhere in the middle. There was a scene where a certain conflict was being shown, and so the movie was building up tension a little bit more, because you could kind of see coming what was happening, but you still have some feeling that this could be prevented. Even though for a lot of this movie I was really annoyed at a lot of things, I, in this moment, actually realized that I still cared for all of these characters. And I think the main reason for why I care so much about these characters is because of the actors. Mainly Samantha Lorraine, who plays Lydia, the best friend of our main character, and also Sunny Sandler playing Stacy, which is, like, these two are very, very good in these roles. And these characters do a lot of things that are really unlikable, I have to say, and I didn't really care. I still had some sympathy for these characters, which I didn't expect. Especially Stacy in this movie does a lot of things that are consistently bad and consistently annoying and really despicable, actually, but it didn't really annoy me that much, which is definitely a big plus for these actors. So this movie is definitely still a recommendation for people who like coming of age movies or like coming of age Netflix movies, which I really don't understand, by the way, because despite the fact that in almost every department of filmmaking in this film I had some problems with it and I was in some way annoyed by something, I still ended up caring more and more about what was happening, about who it was happening to, and about how this could be resolved in some way. And I don't really know if the filmmaking just got better or if I just stopped caring that much about it and just started caring more about the people. Because the movie seemed to get better and better over the course of time. And that's especially impressive considering the fact that the story itself is genuinely just not that special. It feels like we had seen stories like these already a lot of times. And the movie also borrows a lot of things from different movies. Some scenes felt like 8th grade, for example. There was a random scene in this movie that was edited kind of like a Edgar Wright montage, and this whole conflict between the main characters kind of felt like Do Revenge, which was a Netflix movie that I think came out this year as well, or maybe last year. And also this movie has a dance party ending, which is just so cliche. So even despite all of that, this movie still gets away with it, which I think is amazing. And I don't think this movie is really good. I don't even think I really like it, but I still cared much more about it than I would think, considering everything that is in this movie. So I would give this movie a 5 out of 10. I don't know, maybe watch it. There's definitely better things than this movie, and if you think about watching a movie between two best friends beating each other on Netflix, maybe watch Do Revenge. It's to me a much better movie, and a movie that makes much more sense on every single level. But maybe don't listen to me, I don't know. Thank you for watching, and yeah, I'll see you guys next time.